Hello and welcome to another episode of Circular Insights. My name is Lijin and I am your host for today. And I'm very happy to be sat here today with a lady called Lizzie Curtis, who has over a decade of experience in branding, website design, and webflow development. She founded Design Impact Studio, a creative agency working at the intersections of design and social impact. She and her team share a mission to change the world through design and empower women to actually shine in the industry. Lizzie has collaborated with a number of purpose-driven organizations and nonprofits to bring clarity, accessibility, and impact to their digital presence. Alongside her agency work, Lizzie has also taught graphic design at Shillington College and has spoken on topics including no code, accessibility, and design for good. So welcome, Lizzie, to our podcast. Great to see you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure.
Yeah, so I think for a lot of the listeners that are tuning in today, this whole thing about website design just seems like something that is like, you just have to get it done. It's like just another admin task, right? Even I'm sure part of us in our networks would know someone who's just registered their website for their business or their organization so that they just look legitimate, right? they've somehow already got whatever registrations done, and now they need to show the world that they're real. Just suddenly thought of something that people said also, like why people have like Facebook accounts is so that nothing is official unless it's on Facebook, right? Even our personal relationships.
That's so true.
Yeah, so let us dive into this work that you're doing in particular, the website part of it, because this is something that I think is quite underutilized, or people don't actually realize how powerful it is. Lizzie, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's so true. And I think obviously a website in itself is in some ways like a really new thing if you think about like the history of the human race. But in other terms, it's like such an integral and important thing that is also like in this established format that everyone is expected to know and have. And yet somehow it seems like the tools to actually build a website or to the knowledge to know actually how to make the most of a website isn't necessarily common knowledge.
Mm.
And quite often, if like an early stage organization will turn to DIY website builders and put something together, maybe on a free platform, and just have a little guess at what should go on there. So we're like, oh, I need to talk about the organization. There needs to be some kind of contact form. We need a big image, and we need maybe a slider because that's cool, right? We need like the images to like rotate, and then what else do we need? And then maybe it's like, oh, we'll shove a blog on there, and maybe there's just no strategy in actually thinking about how to get the information that you need up there in a way that then is digestible and understandable by the audience. In fact, I would say that maybe at an early stage organization might not even necessarily think about the audience necessarily when they're building the website. They're more thinking about how do I make myself look real, like you were saying, or like what what do I need to say about myself or what about our organization?
Yeah, and I think what you mentioned there just now about, actually this is quite new. I mean, website builders and things like that, where people could do DIY is something that seems quite new.
Yeah.
I mean, in the past, probably there was already the blogs, you could write your own blogs and things like that. But it's probably only in the last, what, 8 to 10 years where
Mhm.
these sort of free website builders to and drag and drop and make people sort of able to just create their own websites really started to emerge. Is that observation sort of right?
Yeah, I think so. But then I think maybe the sort of is there like maybe two things like running parallel? There's like you can create a website and there's maybe like a bunch of tools out there that you can use to just build something, which is amazing. I love it. And it's so instant and it's so gratifying because you can just make something, publish it, it's up, it's done. But then there's maybe not the same level of knowledge of then how to best do that. There's a sort of like yeah, we can whip something up real quick. You can make it yourself. But then there's also like but is it strategic? Does it actually help you? Is it actually a tool to like empower your business? Um,
Mm.
but then I guess that would be like an early stage. But then maybe there's also the other end of the spectrum where there's like websites that are maybe 10 years old and or even 3 years old that are just a burden, you know? Or like,
What do you mean by a
I
burden?
mean, the thought of going in to update a website is potentially a horrifying thought because you know that either somebody else controls it and you have to get in touch with them and they're like, they built it for you 10 years ago and they're just not interested anymore. So you say, please, please, can you update my website? And then they'll be like, yeah, 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 cool, cool, cool. And it's like 3 months later and they change like, I don't know, the word that you wanted switching out or whatever. This is the experience of quite a lot of charities that we work with, where they have some sort of legacy relationship with a agency or an individual who's built the website. It's now grown, it's a little bit unwieldy, maybe bits of it are breaking, and the maintenance of it is just so out of the hands of the people who actually have the information and the knowledge. Um, and that's what I mean by it being a burden rather than
Mm.
a joy, rather than something that's living and growing and exciting.
Mm, mm. And I guess like when you were talking there, it prompted me to think of a lot of websites where I come from. Typically a sort of institutional websites actually do make me very frustrated at
Oh
some
yeah.
point, especially when trying to find that particular form and then there's like an old version of the page still there, and then you download the wrong form, you submitted it, they say it's the wrong form, and they go back and they have somehow find this new version of the page, and there's conflicting information, and parts of the website are updated part way and then parts of it is like still in the old model, and
Mhm.
unless you were talking to an officer on the phone who guides you to say click this and then go into click this and then click this and click this, you wouldn't actually find anything on
Yeah.
those websites.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe you can elaborate a little bit more, because obviously you work with a lot of your clients with this particular pain. So you probably can give us a few more examples. Actually, this pain point when you deal with these websites, like why is this such a big problem? What are the frustrations that come up?
Yeah. I think one thing that comes up quite frequently is because I guess, yeah, we're sort of talking about a couple of different strands. There's sort of like building a website itself. Then there's kind of like what goes on the website, the content that's there. Then there's kind of like how you actually interact with the technology, like how you update it. And then there's also kind of like, yeah, just like the overarching strategy of like what you're actually doing with it, the vision of it. And I think um, one of the issues that we see quite frequently where our poor clients are in pain is just like maybe there's maybe if you visualize sort of like a medium-sized charity where there's maybe a couple of different teams, nothing too extravagant, but there's no like single ownership over who is actually in control of the content on the website. And then so you might get a situation where um, you produce an impact report, um, shove it up on the website. Maybe you've got another couple of programs that you started running, put them up on the website, but the old programs are still there. Um, and then what can happen even over a short amount of time is because there's no ownership or strategy of actually thinking about what needs to be on the website, it ends up getting very cluttered. There's a lot of stuff just going on. And then from then someone then using the website's point of view, it can feel like a little bit scattered. You can't find the information you're looking for. And even from the person in the organization's point of view, they can't find their information on their own website as well. And this is a really common thing that we see, even with smaller organizations or startups where there's just this idea like, okay, we've got the stuff, let's just put it on the internet. And that kind of can work on this in a social media context because stuff just comes and goes. There's a sort of a rolling feel to it. You can post something, you can post something again, post something again. It just sort of builds up. But if you have that same attitude with a website, it can start just getting bloated with no focus, no direction, no sense of like, what do we actually want people to do when they get here? When they get to our little corner of the internet, what do we actually want to happen? Like, are
Mm.
we trying to spark a conversation? Do we want people to be inspired into some sort of action? Do we want them to engage with us directly? Like, what do we want of people? But quite often we're just using it as a repository, like an archive, you know? And so this has been very much the case for one client that we've been working with, where their website is just like this sort of ball of words all just scrambled together and you're trying to find a particular report, or there's just so much brilliant stuff that they do. They deliver so many incredible services, but you would not know it from looking at the website. You would not know what their focus is. So to try and alleviate that pain and to try and sort of bring clarity and bring focus, what we love to do is something that we call decluttering, digital decluttering. And we love the analogy of it like being your website is like your home, and you're just having a big old sort out at home. I personally love doing a declutter at home. I don't know if you enjoy this kind of process.
I find it quite relieving in a way.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's almost like also like for people who love gardening and stuff, it's like just
Yeah.
removing a little bit of the so-called weeds. They're not weeds, but they're just plants grown in the in places that's not helpful for the
Yes,
plants that
that's
you
it.
want.
Yeah, that's
And just
it.
removing a bit of the weeds to allow the plant that you want to actually have more
Yes,
space and
that's
more
it.
air, more, sunlight and water and nutrients to actually come through. And I find like decluttering has that same sort of energy to it, where it's not that those things aren't important anymore, but maybe they're just not as important or as useful to you at this stage, and it's time to let it go.
That's
Um,
right. Yeah.
yeah, so they can allow more abundance to actually then enter your life.
That's
Um,
it, exactly. Yeah. It's
yeah.
like just the analogy of removing plants that you don't want in that exact place is brilliant because it's like when you do that process, the plants that you do want to grow then flourish, which is incredible that it does that almost by itself, you know. You just give it the
Mm.
right conditions and it really does flourish. And it is remarkable that the same principle applies with your content strategy as well.
Yeah, yeah, because like if you are a business and you're thinking I'm not getting the right clients to me, or even if you are the charity, not the right type of volunteers, not the right type of donors, not the right type of collaborators in the business or whatever, you start wondering, is it just something wrong with me? But
Yeah.
it could be that just there's a lot of weeds that's sort of grown out and it's sort of blocking whatever needs to get to you.
Yeah.
So by actually decluttering that website, you're actually allowing the right people to actually find you. Yeah.
Hmm.
I was just something that came up when you were talking about, this thing of when there's a mishmash of things about your organization, even the people inside can't find the information. I must think it must be so disempowering for someone, let's say in the sales or marketing type of functions, where they're trying to find something to convince somebody else to take action or to, purchase something, and they can't get back up because their website can't back them up at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there they are, trying to convince people that, we'll be able to do this well, we're able to do this effectively. And yet the front page where people would interact with just says the complete different story, because
Mm.
even you as the team member of this company or this organization can't find what you need from the website.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you end up having your own little filing system of all the important things just separately.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think I have had those experiences with some agents or insurance agents or things where they have their own like way of organizing
Yeah. Yeah.
all those things. And then the actual platform or interactive thing where customers are supposed to go to is just so complicated that it's very hard to navigate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
true.
how do you work with your clients? Like for example, what you gave in that example, how do you work with them in real life after you've seen that ball of words?
Yeah.
What needs to be done?
Yeah. Uh, Quite often for us, it's a lot of listening because quite often it's about, in order to declutter, you need to know what your priorities are. You need to know what's important and what's not important. And
Hmm.
so for us to be able to help someone do that, why are you laughing?
I think it's like maybe slightly easier if it's a single person, but then when it's a team, it's even more tougher, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So there needs to be a lot of clarity before you even start doing the gardening, because obviously you need to know what's a plant that shouldn't be there and what's a plant that should be there. Because if, yeah, oh my gosh, we've got some gardeners that come in. We've got like a shared garden down in our flats here. And when the gardeners come through, they've just basically got a chainsaw and just going through stuff, and everyone's like, no.
Oh dear.
So it's like you don't want to go in uninformed about what's important and what isn't. So we always start just by listening and understanding, okay, what's going on? And it's usually getting to the heart of the why of the organization itself. That's the most important thing, and really understanding who we're talking to. Like, who's this website for? It's not necessarily for the internal team. This is the external, outward facing piece of information that's going out. So we really need to understand what's the vision, the why of the organization, and who are the people that this is for. And I think we'll spend probably the majority of the time in this zone to really understand like who's coming to the website, what are their pain points, what are they looking for, what are they expecting to see, what are they expecting to find, and then why is this important? Why is your organization here? If you closed your doors today, who misses out? You know, what is diminished in the world because your presence isn't here anymore? So that's where we start, and it's super. Then it's almost like, I don't know, just trying to think of an analogy of maybe clearing out your home. Um, like, what is the kitchen for? It's for
Mm.
cooking and for hosting, if maybe that's what you like to do. So then we look at everything in the kitchen, like, is this something that I cook with? Yes. Is it helpful? Yes, it stays. Is this something I cook with? No, that's just like a random tea cozy that I don't actually use anymore or something. So that can go out. So it's always just aligning it with that central vision. So an example, we did it recently with a client, and they actually managed to reduce the content on their website from, I think it was over 50%. They realized of the website was actually just not central to what they actually wanted to talk about and to the services they actually wanted to deliver. Which meant their website actually reduced in size after the process, which is quite interesting because quite often when an organization is thinking about getting a new website, they usually are feeling restrained in some way and feeling like we need more room, we need more pages so that we can do all these things. But sometimes actually it's reducing that brings that clarity as well.
Yeah, actually, when you were speaking about decluttering everything, something else popped in my mind that exactly matches what you were saying. Is that a lot of people have this misconception that more is better,
Yeah, yeah.
right? More is better. So long as we create a lot of content, we put everything onto the website, then people will be able to know us better, find more about it, and actually
Mm,
join us or whatever. But what you actually described there is that more isn't necessarily better,
that's
because it
right. Yeah.
dilutes a lot of what you're trying to actually say. And people are getting lost in so much detail that they don't really know why you're existing in the first place.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love that kitchen analogy that you gave me just now. Like being a Malaysian, we love spending a lot of time in kitchens. So apart from hosting, actually, there's a lot of like communal cooking that we do together. And that's
Mm.
actually where we like exchange a lot of intelligence of our families or friends. Some people say it's gossip, but I think it's about caring.
It's intelligence.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't have to say bad things all the time. You're actually exchanging things that you want each other to be aware of and to care for, and to find out how people are emotionally, how they are physically, etc. So then you would be able to adjust how you interact with each other and things. So just that analogy of decluttering. What is the purpose of the kitchen? I think it's a really great analogy, because in our case, we would need a lot more table space. We would
Mm.
need a lot more sort of free open areas where people can just pick up another chopping board, start chopping on that end, start washing on that end, and all of us are close enough to have that sort of communal conversation about
Mm.
our respective families and the overall family or friends. And that action of just doing something together becomes more clear that, oh, we're not just there to eat the food, we're actually there to build our relationship with each other through the process of making the food.
Yeah.
And a kitchen that has very little table space, is just cluttered with all the equipments and things. It just doesn't facilitate that type of relationship with people. So I love it what you described there.
That's a really good analogy because it shows as well that a kitchen for one family will look very different to a kitchen for another family because the why is different, which I guess is kind of the same with a website as well. They should
Mm.
look different. And that's brilliant because the why is so different for every
And that's where
organization.
your character sort of shines through, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
just imagining like some of my friends' kids who come to our house. It's like the moment they step in to the kitchen, it's a complete different feeling of my house as a whole experience compared to walking into somebody else who probably spends more time in the living
Mm.
room area. And food is not a big thing for them. Whereas
Mm.
like majority of time, I think when the kids come over, it's like in the kitchen on the dining
Yeah.
table. It's open layout, between the dining area and the kitchen area. There's a lot of interactions back and forth. You hardly step into the living room area. So
Hmm.
yeah, so what you described there is like really interesting. Yeah, I never thought about it that way.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you think you could give us a few more examples of like how else you work with your clients in terms of improving that experience that people have with their website?
Yeah. So I think the technology is a big part of it because whoever's managing the website will need to interact quite frequently with the technology that the website is built on. And that can sometimes be very frustrating. It can sometimes be a joy. And that is what we're aiming towards. Um, so one thing that we would always do is a review of the technology that's in play for an organization. And sometimes, again, it can be that someone has like inherited different bits of the digital world of an organization. So there's often a CRM, there's often the website. These two things don't often talk to each other, or if they do, it's in a very clunky way. Then there might be some extra tools that people use as well, like something to book events, maybe a calendar thing. And there might just be a bunch of tools that are maybe all working in silo from each other. And one thing that can massively transform a website manager's experience is to consolidate tools, bring them into something that has a central source of truth. There's not like multiple spreadsheets and different versions of spreadsheets that are maybe a duplicate set of data from another spreadsheet over here. These are all the people in events, and these are all the people who have signed up to the newsletter. They could be the same people, we don't know. There's no way of knowing.
Yeah.
So what we love to do is to just it's decluttering again, but with the actual tools rather than the content, and just thinking, what's this thing serving? Is there a way to consolidate this? Can we make this talk to this better? Is there a better way of connecting this up?
Mm,
With the intention again of just bringing more focus, more clarity, um, and more joy in the process. Because there's so
mm,
many amazing tools out there. And unfortunately, it seems that charities, which is quite a lot of our clients are charities, they get a little bit left behind because maybe they feel, I don't know, they feel obliged to carry on with some thing that some nice volunteer has put together for them, um, or it's a budget thing as well. And it's also a time thing. Um, some organizations can be, they're doing amazing things on the ground. They're delivering incredible services. They haven't got time to then think about consolidating and cleaning up the data in their CRM. That is a background task. But doing these background things can then release people to be able to then focus on their mission more. And I think that's kind of the heart of where we want to be, is empowering teams who are burdened by their digital suite, whatever it is they're using, and they want that time back, you know? They want to be able to actually focus on changing the world and doing the stuff on the ground and doing the amazing things that they're doing.
Just as you were speaking there, it made me think of a book called Buy Back Your Time. And one of the time assassins that they mentioned was actually the saver, whereby you feel that in order to, you brought in some revenue or you brought in some donations, you want to direct that all to the mission, or the operations that you've put up. But then you sort of forget that, all these back end stuff is actually making it very ineffective for people to concentrate on the best thing that they do well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So therefore, being the saver, you actually take away a lot of time, because let's say the decluttering of the content per se, imagine 50% of that content actually was unnecessarily produced. How much time did you require the talent to actually put in to create the content in the first place? Or decluttering in terms of the actual tools that enable you to, create the website or update it and things like that. Just think of the amount of time that was spent by the talent that was put there. Probably this isn't even their core competency, and it's taking them away from focusing on the mission that they do really well. And they're trying to figure out how to do this booking or confirm that event, or move the data of their customers or donors around so that they can send out invites for the
Yeah.
next thing. It's just a lot of time wasted in just trying to figure out how to use something that wasn't crafted in a way that gives you that sort of focus or clarity. And
Yeah.
it really sucks away not just the time, but your energy. Because imagine trying to like get through all of that and then say, okay, go out now and do your mission and
Yeah.
and make your impact. Like, I'm so tired now. I don't want to think about this anymore.
Yeah, that's it
Yeah.
exactly.
Wow. So what got you interested in solving this particular pain? What started you on this journey, Lizzie?
I think I love I love design. I think it's brilliant. I've always loved it. And so I studied illustration originally, but I only did illustration because my brother did graphic design and I didn't want to do the same course as him. So really, it was like, I don't know, I could have easily done graphic design as well. But anyway, um, when I'm designing, I really do put my heart and soul into it. And in the past, I've worked at different agencies and I've worked for clients who are maybe not purpose driven. Their purpose is maybe just making a bit of money, you know. But I still put my heart and soul into creating something that's high quality. as much as I can. And I think I just realized that if I'm going to put my heart and soul into something, I want it to be something that's going to change the world and make the world a better place. So I guess my journey has been like realizing as a designer, all of my work is basically just doing things for other people. I do obviously have like personal projects that I love doing or whatever, but professionally, it's about having clients and doing the work for the clients. So I think I've realized like, oh, if I pick clients who are doing really great things, I can empower them to do the things even better and therefore make the world a better place by using my skills. So I think that's kind of like the realization moment that I needed to be putting my heart and soul into something that is good, as much good as it can be. So I think that's the starting point. Then the journey of how it got to this specific thing of, I guess in some ways it's more of a strategic thing. I think it's realizing that you can use design to make something look nice. That in a way is kind of like a, you've got a very nice room. You can make it look nice by painting the walls. But if fundamentally the walls are falling down, your job is kind of it's pointless. So it's like, I think over time just realizing that I can't just make things look nice by using design. That's not enough. I also need to look at the structure underneath things and make sure that's sound as well, which I think is what has led to this desire to always be getting to the heart of something before painting it, if that makes sense, or before just slapping wallpaper on it. Or it's not just about rearranging the things that are in the room to make it look a bit better and like shoving some things under the sofa and maybe sweeping all the dirty bits into one corner. It's about really considering everything that is there and getting to the heart of it. And that's I think is more valuable and therefore can then, to get back to this thing of putting my heart and soul into something that's for good, that then can empower my clients better. So I think, yeah,
Mm.
I think that's where the journey has taken me.
And I remember like in your intro, we talked about, this whole thing about wanting to empower more women to actually shine in the industry. And as you were talking there about how your journey has come about, it just made me wonder, what was that jump from a typical design agency into now as an entrepreneur with your own design studio, pursuing projects where you can pour your heart and soul into it and be part of changing the world. What was that jump like? Because there are probably people out there who are just thinking to themselves, oh my gosh, I'm just a designer. I just receive projects that are assigned to me and I slap on the paint and yeah, it's done, right? My job's done. I get my pay. I probably don't particularly feel that much more passionate about my job, but yeah, it pays the bills, right? So I just wondered, like, what would you mind sharing a little bit more about that journey? I think, and also this purpose that you've shared with us about empowering women to shine in this industry.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's some ridiculous statistic that talks about how many female founded agencies there are, design agencies. And it's something like 0.2% of all agencies are founded and run by women. And I think from about maybe 10 years ago, I thought to myself, one day I'm going to run my own agency. And it's gonna flip that round and it's gonna empower women and people who identify as female to do their best work and to be really excited by that. I think so. Mentioned that I I've taught graphic design at graphic design college, and the majority of the students in each of the classes that I taught were female or female identifying, and but still the majority of senior positions in agencies are taken by male designers and managers. So something is happening from college or school or university or training to the real world that means that the females are not there anymore. So I don't know where they're going, but I want to make sure that they have the confidence to not disappear. So that's the dual mission, I guess. There's our external mission as an agency to do the best that we can, to do the most good, do the most social impact that we can. But then the internal vision is to then do that also by empowering and encouraging women, designers, to do the best work. I think your question was around the journey of like, how did I go from just being in an agency to then running my own agency and like how that happened. I was actually in another agency about 2 or 3 years ago. And for one reason or another, that agency closed down. And I had the opportunity then to, I was made redundant. I had the opportunity to either just go and find a job, or that was kind of, it felt like a key moment, an opportunity basically to start something. And I actually took all the clients from that agency that closed down. So that was kind of like my little starter pack. And that was 2 years ago. So in a way, I set that dream 10 years ago of one day I will do that. But it really took a big kick up the bum to actually do it, as in like it wasn't in my control at all. I mean, obviously I did choose to do it eventually, but it was like this, the scenario brought it about in a way. And I was like, okay, well, it's happening now. We're going to do it now. But I actually started it on my own. I always wanted a co-collaborator. I never wanted to do it by myself because I just love collaborating. And so I had a sort of checklist of who I wanted to collaborate with. They needed to be entrepreneurial, passionate about sustainability and the environment and making the world a better place. They needed to be a self-starter, potentially running their own thing, but happy to join my thing. And I really wanted them to be a female who maybe didn't feel confident. Well, not necessarily about confidence, but just like you need some momentum sometimes when you're starting out on your own. And I went to a conference and bumped into this very nice person. We had a very quick chat. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I love I'm interested in sustainability." And I was like, "Oh, okay, really interesting." And then we actually followed up. She followed up with a very nice email after the conference. Extremely good at networking, you know, like following up with everyone that you met, which is I'm terrible at doing that kind of thing. But she was like, "Great to meet you. Shall we meet up?" So we discovered that we actually lived pretty close to each other in Southeast London. So we just met up in person, and I was just like, she was entrepreneurial. She had her own thing going, but was willing to join me. And she basically ticked off all of those things that I put on my list of who I wanted to collaborate with. And I could literally, as we were talking, I could literally feel like a shiver and goosebumps. I was like, oh, I think this is the one. I think I found her. So I feel like I basically manifested her. She didn't actually exist before that. I basically, it was like Mary Poppins, you know. So so that was just a really exciting part of the journey, was really finding Rebecca. And I don't think we would be at all where we are now if we hadn't have found each other and like pooled our knowledge and resources to make it happen. Because it has been a bit of a slog. It has been hard. But every day I'm just so grateful and excited, and just I will rather be doing the hard days of what is happening now than the good days of everything that's happened before. Do you know what I mean? It's like this is where I want to be. This is where it's at. It's like the vision, me dreaming 10 years ago, or even more than that, actually. Just thinking, what kind of place could I create? What kind of place did I want to be in then? What kind of environment did I would have helped me grow in confidence and thrive? I was like, can I create that? I don't know, but I'm going to try.
Yeah. Wow. That's a really powerful story. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, Lizzie. There's so many golden nuggets in there that as you were talking, it just reminded me of various things that across the years, meeting different people. I think kudos to being so clear in terms of who you are looking for. It just comes back to that whole discussion we had right at the beginning about like when you're very clear what you're looking for and who you want to attract, even in terms of the website as one of the tools, or it could be a social media, going in with a very clear understanding of yourself, what you're trying to do, your own organization, what are you trying to do? You just attract those type of people to you. And the moment that you actually meet them, you just know. Right. Yeah. But when things are sort of like, I'm not sure, you're just going with the flow, you just have to do it sort of situation. Even if the right person was right in front of you, you actually would be too distracted to realize that they are the right person.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought like that was like a really amazing sort of like a circle in a way back to also what you guys are doing in helping your clients and organizations that you work with to get that type of clarity. Because coming back to a previous podcast we did on brand clarity and founder clarity with Cherry, when you are so clear about what you stand for, it's not just about finding the right customers to come to you. It's also about the right talents to join your team,
Yeah.
to allow your organization to grow even bigger and create that bigger impact that you would want to. It's also about attracting the right investors. And when I mean investors, it's not just like big companies and things, but it could be just people who are willing to provide the capital resources for you to grow even bigger.
Hmm.
And that comes with clarity.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily more is better. It's actually clearer is better.
Clear is definitely better, yeah.
Yeah. And I also love like when you were, sharing that you would prefer to do the hard days now than the good days of the past, because in a way the purpose is so clear now, what you want to achieve, that this is actually the fun part of the game, right? To do the hard parts. Like play a video game. You don't want to just somehow get to like playing the master boss without going through all the trials and tribulations and earning your, I don't know, weapons or badges or healing powers or something like that. It's that process of pushing through the hard days that help us actually become clearer about what is it that we truly want. And also, when you find the comrades that are in that same journey with you, in that team that you're playing, that fulfillment of overcoming the hard days becomes so much more valuable, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So yeah, thanks for sharing that story. I mean, even at Circular Business Association as an ecosystem builder, we're always working towards, providing that type of comradeship to various vendors, suppliers, and talents who want to actually do the best work that they do, while also making a profit and making this world a better place. Right. So it could be from the environment, it could be from the social aspects, it could be actually just in the relationships that we have. And, I think early on you did mention something about, how the technology is changing, and AI suddenly popped up in my mind that, yeah, I mean, there are tools now where you could ask the AI to build a whole website for you, but
Yeah.
where's the soul of it? Where is the direction of it? It still
Hmm.
comes from what actually do you want to do? Why are you
Yeah.
doing it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're not clear with the AI, it can't actually help you actually
Yeah.
either.
That's
Yeah.
it, exactly. And I think that's what, I guess there are so many tools that help you create things, and AI can obviously write a million blog posts for you if you want, or it's great at just chatting on and on, you know? It can just, it can
It
just,
can make things go so much faster.
oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's
It
so
can
many
make
brilliant
creation
things.
so much faster.
Absolutely. And even
Yeah.
like you were saying, like you can just talk, you can just prompt something and just say, okay, build me a website. There's this, and this, and this. And I think that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And obviously, I build websites, but I'm happy for
To
if
work
someone can
with.
find a tool to actually do it themselves and do it that they feel empowered and I don't mind, you can do that. But what I
Yeah.
do mind is that you actually have an idea of why it's there and
Mm.
what's important about the information. Is it an online brochure? Is it something to spark a conversation? It's like having that focus. And you can also use AI to help you get to that focus as well by saying, um, I'm doing this. What do I need to do to be able to get real clarity over it? And AI can suggest, some questions to ask yourself, or can take you through some really helpful ways of like, or yeah, um, you can use AI not just to create the content, but you could maybe shove all of your content into, say, ChatGPT and say, like, what's the big emphasis that you're getting out of this? Like, what do you get from all this? And then ChatGPT could say something like, oh, there are like this many points that is coming through. And that can give you like a really good idea of like what's online, what's happening.
Oh.
We actually got one of the deep research tools, I think it was on ChatGPT, to do like a deep dive onto our website, Design Impact Studio, just to see how an AI perceives the information that's up there. And we've got this tiny little note in the bottom of our footer that just says no cookies on this website because we just don't use cookies on the website. And it's just like a little note. It's nothing, it's not like the core of our offering, It's just like a little, hey, that's the reason why the cookie banner didn't come up. Um, and for some reason, the AI just really latched onto that and thought that that was like our driving focus. I was just like, these guys are all about not using cookies on their websites. They're amazing for not using cookies on their websites. And we're like, oh, crikey. So it's actually really helpful to see how a robot perceives what we're saying on the website. Which again
Yeah.
is a helpful tool for decluttering as well, as just to get an AI to have a look at it and just see what are the robots perceiving, because
Yeah.
obviously as people are using the internet to search is changing quite significantly with AI. You'll
Yes.
probably notice the little AI summary that comes at the top of your searches now, and you're just like, oh, okay, I don't even need to click on a website. It's all just right there. And
Mm.
I know that has been massively impacting organizations. They're seeing website traffic drop right off because people are just getting the answers that they need straight away without needing to go on their website. So, and that is
Mm.
an
Little caveat though,
really
that's
interesting.
sometimes AI does hallucinate, and
It can, yeah,
so
yeah.
best still to check the
Oh,
original
yeah,
source.
definitely.
So our listeners out there, please realize, although it's very convenient, it is very easy to just get the answers there. The AI may not get the right answers. They do hallucinate. They do make interpretations, like the cookie example that
Yeah,
Lizzie
yeah.
mentioned. So please do always go back and check the right source. Don't take it as law, right? They always will have, like, you can even ask the AI, can you show me the references? When you click into the references, sometimes the reference is a complete different thing from what the interpretation of the robot is. So it helps make it much faster, but almost like reverses the whole research, I think. Last time we
Mm.
used to have the idea, then go and research it, and then try and summarize it. Whereas what AI has been able to do is summarize it, and then you have to go back, research it to see whether that's actually real or not, and whether or not there are different interpretations. And perhaps the interpretation that the AI came about is a way that probably humans never thought about, and
Mhm.
it might be the solution, but you have to back research it and back test it to see whether or not that's something that could lead to another breakthrough, which is really exciting that we're in this time of the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. And it makes you think about what's on your website as well, because you think the more clarity then that's on your website, the more likely it is that an AI is going to be able to find the information and understand it. And yeah.
So how do you prepare a website to be AI ready? I think
Oh, that's
is
a
going to
great
be.
question. Yeah.
So if you had a magic wand, Lizzie, what would you want most to happen in the coming few years?
In the coming few years, I want to be working with brilliant organizations who are doing amazing things that are tangible, a tangible bettering of the world. I want to be empowering them, that they have tools that they love using, that they have increased engagement with who they want to be talking to, and increased impact. And I want to be doing that all within a culture of an agency that is creating the conditions for a team to thrive. So it's like, I want my team to thrive and I want our clients to thrive. So I guess, again, going back to the garden analogy, creating the fertile ground where stuff can happen and change can happen. And I'd love to be doing that at scale. But I also I'm I just love meeting people as well. So I think more great people, more great things happening in the world in a great way.
Indeed, indeed. Very often when you surround yourself with the wrong people, you can feel beaten down quite quickly.
You can,
You
yeah.
can, yeah. And
Yeah.
even in the impact space, even in the sustainability space,
Oh, yeah,
you surround
100%.
yourself with the wrong people and you might wake up and think, oh, this is pretty hopeless.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why I'm still doing this anymore, but I keep wanting to do this. And then, whole internal conflict emerges and all of that. And exactly as you said, I think apart from a thriving as your own organization, helping your clients thrive is something that at Circular Business Association, we truly believe in that, because if we believe like a rising tide will raise all boats, basically.
That's
And
it.
all of us have a certain limit of growth that we can achieve within a short period of time. But together, by empowering each other to then deliver that impact, there's no limit to it. There's no limit to it. So we're really a community of people, proactively trying to figure out how to, fill in the gaps and let each other be more empowered. Of course, in that process, profit is very important, because if we can't profit well, we can't take care of our own team, we can't thrive. And that's why, this whole emphasis that we need to make sure it's not just a charitable thing or a noble cause thing, that actually this is something we could do as a livelihood and empower other people through, example that they could be leading a very impactful life through the work that they do. And it's not just work in the professional scene. Of course, there's a lot of works in their family, in the community, in other relationships that they have. And that's why getting to know each other, meeting people becomes such an important part of building our ecosystem. So yeah, I'm really happy to see there is that alignment of different talents towards that direction, because we really need more hands on deck to solve the sustainability challenges that we're facing in today's world.
Yeah.
So last but not least, if people who are listening would love to, collaborate with you or maybe use some of the services at Design Impact Studio, where can they find you, Lizzie? Or how can they connect with you?
You can find our website, designimpact.studio, where you'll find loads of great information about our cookies and how we don't use them.
as well as the services as well. I think I
As
saw
well as-
something like a 15-minute free speed call or something like that.
Yes, yeah. We love just looking at people's websites and diagnosing any issues and listening and hearing what the pain points are. And because we've seen a lot in our time, there's quite often it's the same solution, you know. So something that maybe feels like a big blocker for someone could actually be, we might be able to suggest a way through based on our experience. Um,
Mm.
so yes, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. I'm sure the links will be in the podcast
Yes,
description.
it will be in the description of this podcast
Yeah,
episode. Yeah.
yeah.
Right. So thanks very much for this conversation, Lizzie.
Thank
Is there
you.
any last thoughts that you'd like to say to the audience?
I just think it's never too late to get started on anything. And the same is with like sorting out your digital life. You know, you can do a little bit, you can do a big bit. You can just, take one cup through from one room and put it in the right place. Um, just start, I would say.
That's very true. As you said, websites very much alive to be
Yeah.
functional. Just like all things, it keeps changing, it keeps evolving, and there's no real perfect time to do anything actually. It's just, now is the moment to actually get started. And as you go through that journey of clarity and focus, you'll know what the next step and who else you need to be talking to. These will things will emerge over time.
That's it.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Lizzie,
Thank
for
you.
joining us in this episode. It was a great conversation with you. And thank you to all the audience who tuned in. I'll see you in the next episode of Circular Insights. Bye.